where you may not have that support system where it should have been, then to turn to God and to trust God, because He will take care of you. You know, He says in the Bible, a broken and contrite heart I will not despise. And so if you go to Him in humility for help, He will help you. He helped me through this. And that was the major way I've got through all this, is through communion and prayer with God. Seeking the Word, hiding the Word in my heart was a major ways, tools and tips as well. Not just tips, but probably the major of it. And anything that's warm, nurturing, any ways that you may need to relearn to parent yourself or re-nurture yourself if you didn't come from a nurturing background, for example, to give you feelings of warmth, protection, accept, love, nurturing. You may need treatment in groups for this because we didn't get here by ourselves. We're social beings, and so we do need those things within a social context. So, like I said, if you have for example, unsupportive family members that you need to leave, then you need to get with supportive groups that have the goal of recovery and overcoming. So you don't turn to other people that don't have a clue about, because you may be getting into an unhealthy or an idolatrous relationship that's only going to be more damaging in the end, and now you're going to have more of heartbreak and more whatever to recover from. You don't need that. Just get yourself into a good 12-step group, for example, if you've developed codependent or serial relationships, then you don't understand how did I get into all these relationships that are so, none of them, you know, they're not positive. They don't foster growth. They actually hinder growth, or even maybe are destructive, abusive, and harmful to you. So now you're even more of an anxious person than you were before. Well, you know, it's escalating the problem. You know, 12-step codependency groups, Emotions Anonymous is another group. If you Google search Emotions Anonymous in any library, you can go to a computer in any library, you can, you know, because you need to get a plan and you need to be proactive, you need to be involved, you need to get back in control, and this is part of getting back in control, is taking responsibility and doing your research to find out what you need and where is it. And all the dimensions of being to do with psychological, social, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Because this will affect you on all those levels. And so you need to identify where the problems are and stop the destruction, stop the crazy making, and just get yourself into a place where you're going to be recovering with other people with the same problem, for example, and getting medical help if that's what's needed to break the anxiety, the physiological part of it, you know. And if you need any kind of spiritual counsel, well then, you know, you would turn to a 12-step group or something where you're part of the process, not where someone's telling you what and who you are, other than Jesus Christ or God, you know. We do not, you know, give ourselves over to people for those type of answers for spiritual. They're not qualified. No one has the right to be counseling someone psyche per se, to do with areas of our soul that only we should only be looking to God for, as to who we are at the identity level and what it is we're called for in this life. He'll let us know that. He'll lead and guide us into all truth, and it's the truth that'll set us free. And so I've done all this, and I've found that it most certainly works. So this is why I'm passing it on to you. So I'm passing on over 2 decades of information, and hopefully I'm doing it in a way that's clear and it's not confusing or, God forbid, boring, because the last thing this was boring going through it. So education and insight is really important. I went through several degrees just learning about this because not only was I going through it, but I also had siblings that were going through it, and I also was a mother myself, and so I had to learn some important parenting and reparenting tools, for example. And I also had to get help with grief, which was underlying the anxiety. And so the anxiety was for good reason. And so the anxiety is not a problem. Anxiety, like I said, has survival value initially. But, you know, if it gets out of hand, you need help. And so the whole point is to be an adult and get back in control. And to be the person that God's called each of us to be. And that's His business. And so all of these tools and tips and mentors and helps along the way are just helps along the way to becoming who it is that God's called us to become. And so looking to Jesus Christ also was central to, because we need some way to apply this personally on a human level. Rather than just abstract knowledge, we need a relationship with God. And, you know, so Jesus Christ came as a human being in order that we might have that example that we can look to, human example, and not just thoughts, belief systems without a person there. And so, because people are to some degree healthy or fallen, but no one's perfect. So the only one that was and is and will always be is Jesus Christ. So He's the one that we look to. But the 12-step groups were created by a Christian man who had a serious, as you know, problems. Probably AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, started, and God gave him the 12-step group in order that, and now they're out there for everywhere, for every kind of problem there is to have. But initially these were given by God, that we need to go back to God. God as we understand Him initially, a higher power, because what we've done is we've gotten too tunneled into control, and we need to go back the other way where we had the sense as children, for example, to be more relaxed and more trusting, etc. Now, we can't do this. It's called idolatry. If we try depending on other people, they're going to let us down to some degree. But if we take this need, God-shaped vacuum back to God, and we trust Him, well, then we'll start getting back into right relation in every other way in our relationships, etc. And we'll no longer look to other people for answers and needs that they can't give us. They're too busy with their own problems in their own life, for example, including, you know, professionals. Although we may get help for a time, we need to be proactive, is my point, especially with this one. And you know, the thing about people with this, with panic disorder, for example, is that they tend to be intelligent enough to know there's a problem, whereas a lot of people are walking around like they're asleep, or, you know, can't figure out that, you know, everything's not safe, and they're complacent and they're asleep, and here, you know, here's danger, there's danger, you know. So being able to pick up danger is a sign of intelligence. And so, you know, they tend to be very intelligent, as the case with many mental illnesses, well, mental disorders. This isn't really, they're not really sure if this is, it's a diagnosable illness. And so many, they're very sensitive, they're often very caring, they're often very overly responsible, overly caring, overly, you know, they tend to be very caring people that develop this. Very intelligent people, very sensitive people to the environment, to cues, etc. And they can become hypervigilant, etc. So we need to learn to relax, right? It's good that we care, but we need to learn to relax. And